Greetings, fellow modelers, and welcome to Figure Model Basics 2.0. I'm your host, Phil Lister, and in this video, I'm going to paint the geometric design Bride of Frankenstein bust. In Figure Model Airbrushing, I showed you how to mix flesh tone shades using an airbrush. I also covered mixing highlight and shadow colors. In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to use pastel chalks to achieve the same effect. This technique is great if you're not that proficient at using an airbrush. Pastel chalks are available at most arts and crafts stores. They come in a wide variety of colors and package sizes. The tones on the Three Stooges models pictured here were all done using pastel chalks. Okay, as always, there's a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. It's a good idea to plan your work before starting any painting. I'm planning my work by first painting the face, which includes the base color, shading, eyes, lips, and even the nostrils. Then, the hair will be base painted in a dark shade. Then, using a lighter shade, dry brushed to bring out the details, including the white, lightning bolt, or highlighted areas. Next, the gown will be based out in pure white, and pastel chalks will be used there for some shading in the folds. Finally, the pedestal will be based out in black, dry brushed in gray, and the nameplate will be detailed. Okay, since I covered mixing a flesh tone in figure model airbrushing, I'm going to begin with airbrushing the mix right onto the model here. I'm using a very pale flesh color here. The reason is, later on when applying the pastel chalks, when it comes to blending, the darker chalk colors will end up darkening the flesh overall. Once I have sprayed on the basic flesh color, I then go ahead and spray on some Tester's Dull Coat to protect the work so far. The pastel chalks are applied to strategic areas under the cheekbones, around the eyes, chin, and neck. To apply the chalks, I use a tapered or filbert brush. Then to blend the chalks, I use a soft, thick brush. I'm starting off with a green. I begin by rubbing the chalk onto a piece of sandpaper. I'm also using a pale gray to keep the colors subtle. Using a tapered or filbert brush, I apply some of the powder to the surface and swirl it around the area. I then gently blow off some of the excess powder. Then, taking the other soft brush, I begin blending the rest of the chalk into the surface, trying to feather the edges as much as possible. I repeat the process on the opposite side of the face. Now, using a blue and a red chalk stick, I mix a purplish color for a bruised effect. I blend this color onto the jawline. Around the eyes and under the cheekbones. It's important to spray dull coat over pastel chalks using a very light mist coat at first. Spraying it on heavy could affect the pastel chalks by creating a mottled effect. It's now time to work on the details. I'm beginning here with the eyes. Never use pure white for eyes. It's way too stark. Use a light gray or an off-white. I then come back with a red wash and concentrate that on the outer perimeter of the eyes, especially in the corners. Using black, I block in the pupils, choosing a direction. After that, I paint in the eye color and paint the brows. This animation demonstrates the steps in painting eyes. Begin with an off-white or gray. Coat the entire eye area. Come back with a red wash and place that around the outer perimeter, especially at the inside corners. Next, figure out where you want the eyes to look and block in the pupils with black. Next, choose an eye color and paint that in, leaving a slight ring of black around the pupil. Come back with black for the iris. Using pure white, place a small dot over each eye as a glint or highlight. Next, using black, paint in the eyelashes, both upper and lower. Go ahead and paint the eyebrows as well. Throughout motion picture history, it was always thought that the bride's hairdo was black with white lightning bolts on the side. However, what many don't know is that actress Elsa Lanchester had red hair. Jack Pierce, Universal's makeup man who created the makeup, left her hair red for the film. Of course, since the film was shot in black and white, it was always assumed that her hair was black or dark brown. So, that being said, you have the option of painting the bride with the traditional hair color or the more accurate red color. I chose to go with the red color here. I start with a dark reddish brown, base coating all of the hair. After that, I mix a lighter shade using red, yellow, and some orange for dry brushing the hair. Dry brushing really brings out all of the texture. Using white, I dry brush the lightning bolts on the sides. The gown is based out in white. I then come back and darken the folds using a brownish tan pastel chalk. The pedestal base was next. After basing that out in black, I dry brushed it using a gray. I was careful to avoid the nameplate area. I wanted to keep that solid black. The last thing was to paint the letters using white and a number 1 brush. After glossing up the eyes and lips, the model is ready to display. Airbrush the flesh color for a smooth, even finish. This works best for pastel chalks. Rub the pastel chalk onto some sandpaper for applying the powder. Using a tapered brush, swirl the powder around within the area and blend with a clean brush. Use an off-white for the eyes. Avoid the Popeye effect. Paint them as realistic as possible. Choose a hair color and base coat that with a dark shade. Dry brush the hair texture with a lighter shade of the base coat to make the details really pop. Base coat the gown in white, then using a darker shade of pastels, darken the folds for depth. Using a gloss, coat the eyes and lips for a high shine. Future floor wax works great for this.
the bride of Frankenstein.